I know sometimes, speaking from my experience, single parents sometimes feel like, no, I don't want to get into a relationship because I'll be distracted. I might not give the children the love that I would have given them. I might not give them the time that I would have given them. But on the one hand, you also need to be loved. There is that side of you that needs to also get into a relationship. You got your own emotional need as a woman or as a gentleman or as a human being. You've got your emotional need as well. So how do you balance the two and do it beautifully? So that is what we're going to be talking in today.
Arise and thrive.
Hello, hello, hello. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you're watching from. I hope you are doing great. Thank you so much again for joining us. Today, me and Nelly, we're having another fabulous session on navigating single parenting. And today, we are talking on something very, very interesting. It is another sticky topic that maybe it's uncomfortable to talk about, but it is very necessary that we talk about it. But before we start, I would like to introduce myself. I'm Peggy Barre. I am a survivor empowerment coach and the founder of Arise and Thrive Academy. And let me pass you over to Nelly for Nelly to introduce herself to you. Then we can roll.
Hello everyone. Welcome to another session. My name is Nelly Kwasunwi. I'm a transformational life coach and director for I am the director of Hand in Hand Community CIC and the director of Clarify Thy Uniqueness Limited.
Thank you so much, Nelly,
So for today,
joining. Yeah.
So for today, another session of navigating single parenting. Today is a very, very touchy topic that we'll be talking about how to manage parenting and new relationships. So how do you manage that? Please join us, comment, and share your experiences, share your thoughts with us as we go through this journey, because this is a learning ground for all of us. So I'll pass you over to Peggy.
Yes, absolutely, Nelly. It is an interesting topic, and I'm looking forward today us diving deep, talking raw. We're talking on from experiences. So again, life happens, right? Life happens. It can be ugly, it can be nice, it can be nasty, it can be anyhow. And we all go into a relationship hoping that everything is going to work out right. But when life happens and that relationship breaks down, and then you end up being a single parent, that doesn't mean the end of the world, right? There is a time when you can also move on into another relationship, but doing so healthily while parenting your children with care and love, and also preserving their safety. So starting a new relationship, while raising children can be, it can feel like walking, on a very, very tight rope, because you are trying to protect your children, you're trying to love, and balancing your time and emotion as well as your responsibility around your children can be tough. But when we learn how to manage these two, we can enjoy it. We can enjoy love, we can enjoy parenting without actually harming each other or harming one or the other. I know sometimes, speaking from my experience, single parents sometimes feel like, no, I don't want to get into a relationship because I'll be distracted. I might not give the children the love that I would have given them. I might not give them the time that I would have given them. But on the one hand, you also need to be loved. There is that side of you that needs to also get into a relationship. You got your own emotional need as a woman or as a gentleman or as a human being. You've got your emotional need as well. So how do you balance the two and do it beautifully? So that is what we're going to be talking in today. And Nelly, Let me just ask this question first of all. The question is not can we move into a new relationship, but the question is going to be how soon can we get into a new relationship, Nelly?
I think that's a very tricky question because I feel there's no time that we can put to that because it depends on the individual. It depends on the couple that are engaging in that relationship. It depends on the intention of both people in that relationship. It depends
Yeah.
on the state of the children. So many things come into place. So it cannot be for me, I will not put a specific time that this is a suitable time for anyone to get into a new relationship because there are just so many factors that get into place. And it is a very complex one because looking at the partner who is with the children, what are they going through? Because before a relationship comes to an end, there's highly likely that the emotional components that these couples have got that the couples have gone through. So
Yeah.
how long does a person take to heal depends on that individual. So then putting a specific time, I don't think is human because we are not robots that you can condition a robot or you program a robot that this time you need to do this. No, we are humans and it takes us different times, different conditions for us to get over a traumatic experience that we've gone through.
Absolutely.
But
The
what
reason
I
why
would
I
say,
asked, yeah, yeah, you go on,
but what
Nelly.
I would say that individual needs to first of all focus on themselves because self-awareness, we've talked about self-awareness I think on every session that we have because self-awareness is very important. So I would say start from self-awareness. When you are working on knowing who you are, then because or say you are the parent who has the children with yourself, you
Mhm.
need to try to gauge how those children are doing because when a marriage breaks down, it's not only the couple who suffer.
Yeah,
I would imagine that children suffer more than even the couple because
yeah,
children are still very young. They don't understand adults, they don't have adult experiences and what's going on with the adults. And the way adults will tend to talk to the children, it will be one sided most of the time. So then it really helps to get the children confused. So there's a
yeah.
lot that needs to go there, especially emotionally. Yeah.
Absolutely. That is so true, Nelly. And the reason why I asked that question, it's a cheeky question. I asked that question because sometimes when relationship breaks down, Nelly, I've seen it so often that they, especially from the women, the ladies side, the mom side, right? I've seen it because when relationship break down, get trust me, some men move on so easily, right? Same as some women move on with easily. But the most majority of cases, the children are always with the mother, and sometimes pressure may want to push the woman may be put under pressure and maybe competition to go into a relationship when they are not healed, when they've not healed in themselves. And so when they go into that relationship, they find themselves that, you know what, they're in the wrong place. And that is where things can start breaking down so easily and start affecting the children and even affecting that parent as well. One thing that, in fact, let me share one example. I'm also speaking from experience. When my relationship broke down after a few years, like about three years or so, I thought that maybe I was ready to try to get into a new relationship. And at first, it was not because maybe people were not, men were approaching me, but then that sort of thing, like, nope, I am still healing. No, I am still healing. And then I got to a point where I said, okay, let me try. But if I tell you, the first few weeks of it, Nelly, I felt like, you know what? I wasn't ready for it. And if I did not follow my gut feeling and stop it there, I think I would have slipped back. Because at that moment, I was struggling. I still had a lot of responsibility to my children, the time running around them. I was also going through my personal growth. I was trying to build a career or trying to build my business. So there were a lot of things happening around me at that time. And one thing that I wouldn't, if I wanted to do, that would have really got me on the wrong track, would have been into get into that relationship. Not because the person wouldn't have supported me, but because I didn't have the time to give to that person. I didn't have the affect the time that maybe the time that they needed me, I wouldn't have given them that time. So, and that is why it's very important that we need to, like Nelly said, have to first of all, are we ready to get into a relation and another relationship? And that question is depend on each and individual. How well have we healed to get into the relationship? So that is the reason why I ask it. There is no need to rush. We need to first of all know that, are we ready to get into the relationship, so that when we get into it, we know that it's something that can work. So
Yes.
yeah, so I don't know, can we talk about some building foundations first of all, Nelly? Building foundations into get into that relationship.
Yeah, I think you've mentioned some points there, but I think when we go into the building foundations, a lot of those will still, I will still talk about them because you've touched on some of the points.
Yeah. So one of the things we've talked about is, first of all, number one, we have to be clear on the intention before entering into that relationship. What is our intention? Are we getting into that new relationship because we just want to compete with the other partner? Are we getting into that relationship because we just want to feel or satisfy our emotional needs? Are we getting into that relationship because maybe we feel like our children maybe need a fatherly figure? Which again, that is question, I put it on quote, on quote. So what are the intention? Because I feel that having the right intention, Nelly, is going to set a healthy foundation for that relationship. Am I right to say so, Nelly?
Yeah, Peggy, intentions is very, very important. However, not everyone knows how to set intentions.
Mhm.
From my experience from my professional experience, I've seen a lot of cases because, like being a social worker, there are lots and lots of cases that is linked with domestic abuse and relationship breakdown, there's just so much there.
Yeah.
And a common pattern that I've seen is people feel entangled in such relationships. And when the
Mhm.
relationships end, they don't know how to set any intentions. Like you said,
Yeah.
some of them just want to get into another relationship because they have developed a lot of dependency. And in their lives, they always want someone to be there. Because trust me, if you find out, you realize that both men and women, they cannot stay on their own. They cannot be single for up to a month. Even if they try to be single, they'll be having one-off relationship here and there because they find that it is difficult. And when you look at it, it is difficult because
Mm.
they don't know
Your line is breaking, Nelly.
You can hear me, please speak up.
Yes,
Oh,
it froze there a bit. Yeah,
can you hear me
right. It's
better
fine now.
now? I don't know what
Yeah.
happened. Okay, thanks. So individuals, some individuals have lived when they have gone through a relationship breakdown. They feel like they cannot live on their own for a very short time, and you will see that some people just rush into the relationships, into the next
Mm.
relationship without having any intention. Some just go there because they want to prove to the other person that they are still worthy. Some other person fancies them and things like that. But then if you want to set intentions or goals or whatever it is, let it be healthy. Look at it from a place of growth.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you don't heal, it is highly likely that you get into the next relationship and the same pattern, because you contributed to the previous relationship breakdown. And a lot of people who don't have that take the either the male or the female.
Okay, I'm not sure what happened there. Nelly has just disconnected. I'm sure it's internet or issue. She's going to reconnect back. So yes, so what we were talking about, Nelly was talking about intention. Before we get into a relationship, we first of all need to build an intention, have a solid, healthy intention while we're moving into that relationship. Oh, Nelly is here. Let me add Nelly. Hey, Nelly, you're back.
Sorry, there I was talking and I was just kicked out.
Yeah, I'm sure your network, your
Yeah, I'm
your
back.
your internet, I'm not sure it's lagging. I'm not sure what's happening there.
Oh,
Yeah. So yeah, so
okay.
that's we've talked about, yeah, you've talked so well about intention. We need to set the intention. It is not about competition. It is not about, we just want to show off. It's not about I there's another even one that I've heard some women say, you know what, I need to go into another relationship because I want the other partner to support me financially. Again, people may have different intention and it might as well be okay, but we need to be very, very careful that we are dangling, we that is not just us that is entering into that new relationship. Our children are entering into that new relationship as well. So when we are going into that relationship, we need to make sure the intention that we have for that relationship is right, and that we can be able to sustain that relationship, because we don't want to introduce a new partner to our children and then few months down the line it doesn't work because maybe we had a wrong intention, and then there we go, we carry those children. We've not just especially if those children have built an emotional relationship or they've built some relationship with that new partner, and then that relationship breaks down. We are not just leaving ourselves stranded, we've left our children stranded as well. So that is why, Nelly, like you said, it's very important. We need to make sure we set the intentions right and set the foundations right, so that when we go into it, we know that it is healthy for us and also healthy for our children, and hopefully it's something that we can carry long term, because children like consistency, isn't it, Nelly? Children, it is consistency is good for the health and well-being of our children. It's good because if they keep getting into
Yeah.
another one relationship, come today, they know that person, the next day that one disappear, and then another person shows up. It affects them. It really, maybe nearly from your perspective as a social worker as well as a transformational life coach dealing with emotions. Maybe you can touch a little bit on that before we move to the next point, please.
Yeah, I think besides the emotions, we've talked about emotions all the time.
Yeah,
So I will move away from the emotions first because we've talked about that. What I'll
yeah,
focus on is the mindset. Because
yeah.
Peggy, you said something about one of the reasons that women quickly get into relationships is they want a man to support them financially. I think there's a massive, massive limiting belief there and limiting mindset as well, a rigid mindset because from so many centuries back, women were dependent on men. But now there is so many things have changed a lot
Mhm.
because before women were not going to work, so women did not earn any money and they relied on men for subsistence. But now
Mhm.
women are working. So is that mindset that a lot of women still have that they want to get into a relationship for the man to support them financially? Yes, it's good to get that financial support from a man. But then if you want to rely solely on that new partner to support you financially and to support your children, to me, I feel that you are just making yourself a prisoner to an old broken system. Because if that person, because that will be one of the reasons why you will rush into a relationship. But then how sincere or how many men will want to, I know there are men there who will support the partner and the partner's children, but how many will keep on doing that if they don't love the woman and the children? Because now life is getting so complicated. So for me, what I say is, even if you want to get into a relationship, because I've heard a lot of people say, oh, love no longer exists. I'll just get into a relationship. If there's no love, I'll eat the man's money. So that clearly shows that, I mean, they have intentions, but is it healthy? Because if you have given yourself the permission to go through that healing, then you will see life in a different way. Because a lot of times we want to roll into getting solutions when that intention is not there. So for me, it's that mindset. Women, I'm talking about women being so dependent on men because that is what we have grown up. Our great grandparents, that was something that for many generations we have known. And to me, men have taken it as, yes, I am the man, I will provide for you. And this even makes me to remember what I heard some time ago. A man told a woman, like the relationship was starting, and he said, I don't have any money to give you. So if you are expecting any money, you won't get that from me. So imagine, because men have taken that I will be the one to be providing. So I
Yeah.
feel that where we are now with the evolution, it is downgrading actually, because you will not be seen as a human being. You will just be seen as an object. But we've gone past that stage. Not everyone, but I think evolutionary wise, we've gone past that stage. But then it is still in people's change, and that's something we need to work on. Not just the men, the women as well, because the men need to realize that women are not just objects. And if you get into a bond, don't just look at your wife like she needs to be submissive and do this, do that, do that. all that control thing. But then if you consider your wife as you are in a partnership, that relationship to me will go a long way than a woman in the house.
Oh, Nelly disappeared again. So yes, what Nelly was trying to say is that before we actually get into relationship, for me, I always say, you know what, I cannot give what I don't have. Before I get into a relationship, I just want to make sure that everything that somebody else is expecting, anything that I'm expecting from someone, can I also give that thing to that person? Whether it's love. If I'm expecting them to love me, do I love myself? If I'm expecting them to respect me, do I respect myself? If I'm expecting them to help me financially, can I also help them financially? So that is some of the foundations that we first of all need to be prepared emotionally, psychologically, even financially before we even get into relationship. Because if we move into relationship with the wrong intention, don't get me wrong, there are some, I've spoken to mothers that are barely struggling to feed their children, and yes, there may be somebody that may come round to say, you know what, I want to help you financially. But again, that once that happens, you first of all need to ask yourself, how is that person going to value you? If they are perceiving you like you are the cash cow, you're just there for money, are they going to respect you? Are they going to still love you the same way? Right. So these are some of the things that we need to be very, very careful before we move into another relationship. Because remember, we say that when we move into a relationship, it's not just us, the parents. We are taking our children into that relationship. So we need to make sure that the person that we are getting into relationship with, are they safe? Are they Can they be consistent? Are they kind? Can they love us as well as love our children? Because we need to make sure we preserve the health and well-being of our kids. So I think that is the first key point on that foundation. The second one we're going to be talking about is communicate openly with your partner about your parenting role. I think this is very, very important because when we go into a relationship, that person, oh Nelly, you're back. I think your internet is really playing up today, Nelly. Nelly, can you hear me? Oh, she's gone again. So another thing we talk about is about communicating openly with the partner about our parenting or about our children, not necessarily disclosing information about our children because hey, you just meet this person, you people are talking. You need to protect and preserve your children. I've seen some people, sometimes parents, they rush into, telling everything. It's good to tell them about your kids, but not just the basic information that they can know, because in that way you're protecting the health and well-being of that children. So let me bring Nelly again. Hi Nelly, I don't know what is happening today.
Oh, to my internet. I'm so sorry about the interruptions. I just keep getting kicked out. My internet, I don't know what's wrong with it today. I'm here
Yeah.
now.
So yeah, thank you, thank God you're back. So I was on the second point, Nelly. I was talking about the second important key foundation is to communicate openly with your partner about your parenting, about your role as a parent. The reason why this is very important is because some parents, they go into relationship. It's both ways. It's both ways. Either you communicate with the person about your children, but I was just trying to say that when you're telling them about, first of all, tell them that you're a parent, you're a mom, you're a dad. Be proud of it, because the mindset is that sometimes parents don't want to tell their partner that they've got children, right? Or they want to kind of downgrade, like make themselves be open. It's about honesty, so that that partner or that person can take you for who you are. And you need to tell them your responsibility as a parent, what you're doing for your children, the commitment, your responsibility, what you're doing for your children. So that based on that, they can either accept if they embrace you, fine and good. If they say, oh no, it's going to be too much for me, then bye bye, let them go. So it's very important to communicate initially. What do you need to say? Have you got something to say on that, Nelly?
Yeah, yeah, that's really true. Have that open communication, because like recently on social media, there's been a lot of talks about how do you call them? Like baby mama, all talks about that recently. So it's not bad for you to take care of another person's children,
Mhm.
because if you love the woman or the mother and you don't love the children, clearly that relationship will not work. Though unfortunately, we've seen a lot of cases where parents have got into relationships and they don't like the children and they do horrible things with the children. So it is the parent who is having those children to take responsibility and make sure that the children are emotionally supported, because children don't understand things the way adults do because they don't have the experience. But if parents don't have open communication to monitor their children where they are at emotionally, then they might not receive the support that they need. And introducing a new partner to to the children is very damaging. And unfortunately, a lot of parents, they don't even think about the children, because they just want the children to accept the new partner without
Yeah.
even thinking how the children will feel about it. And some parents will say they are just children, they have to do what they are told to do. But then it has a long-term impact on the children, because sometimes the new partner comes and the child does not like even to speak to the new partner, but then the
Yeah.
parent will be forcing this child to speak to the new partner, and they will not even explore why they don't like the new partner. Sometimes parents bring, today they bring John or Mary, the next day they bring Susanna, or just bring different partners. It could be male, female, bring different partners. And to them, because they are just focused on their emotional satisfaction, they disregard the children and the impact on the
Mhm.
children. And when children see one partner, two partner, three partner, the children already they are confused. Who is this? What is the relationship this person has with my mom or with my dad? Who will come tomorrow? How long is that going to stay? So already those children will struggle to build a relationship with that new partner, because
Hmm.
from past experience, probably one of them stayed for like months, like children, and then the relationship breakdown. They went to the children are confused now. The children fear to trust anyone who comes in because they don't know how long that new partner will stay. And in the long run, the children also fear to build trusting relationships because they have that fear, and it's a belief that this will come, probably go the next day, or they don't know when they'll go. No, that thought is just so it's good to have an open conversation. Your responsibilities as a parent. If the partner accepts, good and fine. If they don't accept, then let the relationship go. But then let the relationship go. Emotional and physical health is your responsibility and not that of your partner. So then, if you cannot prioritize your children, and for social workers, that's something that we really focus on. If say there is a situation where children are involved and the parent is not prioritizing the children, clearly, as social worker, we will know that the mother is prioritizing their new relationship or the relationship over their children, and that's a safeguarding concern, because if she would prefer a partner over the children, then who will be responsible for those children?
Absolutely. That's so true, Nelly. When you were talking, three key points stood out for me. The first one is the communication has to be both ways. So you have to communicate to this new partner about your parenting responsibility as a parent. And then you also have to communicate to your children, at least tell your children that you have the intention to start this new relationship, just to gauge their feelings, to gauge their reaction, and to also get what they think. Because just like Nelly says, sometimes we think that children are just children. No, they're smarter than we think. So sometimes maybe by even just hearing their own opinion about that your proposer, hear what they are saying. Because from the way they respond, you're going to tell whether that relationship is it going to make or break them, or is there any something that is, are they still struggling with their own emotion? Maybe they've just broken up from that other relationship, they've not healed yet. How is it going to affect them? And how are you as a parent going to help them to heal? Because remember, as Nelly said, this relationship is not just about me and that new partner. It's, I'm bringing my kids into this new relationship, and so I need to be mindful about their well-being as well. So that is number one. The second thing that stood out to me when you were talking, Nelly, it made me giggle a little bit, because we know in our African, in our Afro-Caribbean culture, we call any elderly person auntie, and we call any elderly lady auntie, and then we call uncles, men uncles. And I remember this story that one lady, I think the lady, the child was telling the story that when she was with the mom kept bringing different uncles in the house, that in fact this child did not even know which one was which. So again, think about the fact that today, like Nelly said, you bring Peter, the next day you bring John, or the next day you bring Mary, the next day you bring Susan. How is it affecting those children? And remember, there is something called emotional attachment or emotional. Once you start building relationship with somebody, maybe you've brought Paul, and Paul has started building relationship with these children, and Paul has started giving the children the feeling that maybe he is a dad, or maybe stepdad, and all of that. And then before you even know it, Paul has disappeared in the scene, and another person is coming up. Think about how that is going to affect the children. I know sometimes for us adults, we think that, oh, maybe we can easily just move on. But what about the children? We need to think about that. The third thing that stood out for me, Nelly, again, is called respect. We need to respect ourselves as parents before our children can respect us. Because every day, if we keep bringing different people, different faces to our children, they are going to tend tomorrow and throw it into our face, and they're going to throw it into our face negatively in such a way that it's going to hurt us. And can we blame them? No, we can't. So we need to make sure that we respect our children by respecting ourselves, by respecting the door. Who is coming through that door? Who are we letting in through that door? Because remember, we need, like we said in our previous session, we need to build a safe environment for our children. Whoever is coming through that door, we need to first of all make sure that that person is safe for our children. And in fact, before we even introduce that person into our home, that is another long story altogether. It's a journey. We're going to talk about that in a minute. We don't just, it's not as if you're going to meet somebody today, you started talking to them 1 week, 2 weeks, and bam, you bring them into your home. Well, for some people they may do, but I will personally not do that. I'll never do that, because again, it's about bringing them into your personal space. Are they safe enough? Are they ready to come into your personal space? And remember, that personal space is not just for you. That is a personal space for your children as well. And they deserve some respect as well. So it's about looking on both sides, looking at our children. The fourth thing that stood out to me, Nelly, is about priority. and you mentioned priority. When we are going into a new relationship, I'm going to ask that as a question, Nelly. Who do we prioritize? I know the answer. Do we prioritize our children, or do we prioritize love? That's another question I'm going to ask. I know the answer is simple, but mind you, some people may prioritize love over children. People are different. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So that is tricky. But like a parent, this is my opinion. As a parent, I will prioritize my children. I will prioritize my children. And if the relationship comes, like we've talked about, my children are my priority, I will put boundaries.
Yeah.
If you feel that those boundaries that I've put in place because I want to prioritize my children doesn't suit you, there's no one else to take care of my children. Maybe your own children are with the other partner and they are being taken care of. But if I don't take care of mine, I will not leave mine to take care of themselves. So to
Yeah.
me, I will prioritize my children over a relationship. However, as a social worker, I've said it before, I have worked on many cases where parents will prioritize a relationship, even with a person that they've not even known for a long time, over their
Hmm.
children. Some will just meet on a night out and take them home.
Yeah.
Some will introduce as many as they can to their children. So to me,
Yeah.
I will prioritize my children no matter what. I will prefer
Absolutely.
to stay without a relationship, without being in a relationship, because I know my children are well taken care of by me, than to get into a relationship where I don't know what's happening to my children, or the other person is demanding more time, which there for me, I will put boundaries. We need to have that open communication that this is my responsibility. This is what I'll accept because I have full responsibility for my children. And then we need to communicate that. And then you said something about talking to the children about this new partner. So there are situations where the children have observed from the previous relationship that break down, where
Mhm.
they fear that the next person, or they don't trust any of the opposite partner, whether it's the
Mhm.
male or the female, to get into that
Mhm.
relationship with the parent who is taking care of them. And
Mhm.
they stand in the position of, I want to protect my mom or my dad, and they will not feel comfortable. And some even get very, very violent when they hear
Yeah.
that their parent is seeing someone else.
Yeah.
Yes, a child is doing that because they want to be protective of the parent they consider the weaker parent. They want to protect them. So then, if they hear that the weaker parent has a date with the mom, they're like, who is that? So they want to tend to control that parent. Mom had stayed for
Yeah.
many, many years without getting into a relationship. So it was just her and her son. And then it got to a point where she started this, I think it was on a dating app. She was talking with this man for quite a while. So now they wanted to meet up. And she told this child that she is going out. And the child was like, but mom, where are you going to? You don't go anywhere, and things like that. So when the mom had to explain that she's just going to see this man, and the child was like, who is this man? What is his name? What is he doing? So the child was just asking questions. And then because I was working on that case, I was like, Nelly, I'm really struggling here because the son is does not want her to go to to her date night and things like that. And I
Mm.
had to explore this with the mom as well. And I had a session with both of them. And I told the child, I said, yes, this is your mom. Your mom has a right to get into a relationship because as a woman, she has her own emotional needs as well. However, if she gets into that relationship and you feel that she is not taking care of you, let me know. And then the child was like, oh, okay. And then I encouraged them to have further conversation on how they'll sort things out. And it was fine because the mom went to that date night and it went well and the relationship went on for some time. And later the mom introduced the man to the child. But it was a
Mm.
gradual process. And the child embraced the man because the man was really gentle and things like that. So it just depends how
Yeah.
you handle it.
That is so true. And yes, so going back to that is so true, Nelly. And yes, even me, I will prioritize my children first. I always say, even like I think there's a chapter in my book that I talk about relationship, the hierarchy of relationship. If you are if as a single mom looking after my children come first. I prioritize my children. Even at the beginning stage of a relationship, their priority, first of all, come first. I will put them first over anything until the time when that relationship has matured and that you are married, like couples, you're married, and then the children have accepted that person and they are also happy with that person. Then that is where I will say sometimes, okay, that is where you know it can be a balance, or you can say, okay, I will now prioritize my partner or put my partner, because like I always the argument I always hear people say, oh no, I'll always prioritize my children. In a relationship that you're happily married or happily into a relationship with somebody who loves your children and embrace your children, you know when you prioritize love flows to your children, and your relationship, you sustain your relationship. Because sometimes again, when we get into it and we're so focused only on the children, we tend to neglect the need of that person, and that tend to affect the relationship as well as affect our children. So it's a way, it's both ways. So yes, Nelly, I will prioritize my children at this stage into any relationship, or put my children first. And the second thing, I think the third point that brought us nicely, well, your point brought us nicely to the third point, which is on setting boundaries. But before we talk about boundaries, I just want to say a shout out to is it Charlotte Amy, right, is watching us. So I don't know if she's currently watching us now, but hey, Charlotte, we see you. Thank you for being a part of this discussion. And if you have any comments, please do so to put your comment, and then we're going to pick on it and talk about it. The third point we're going to be talking, Nelly, is boundaries, setting boundaries. And this is massive. What do you say about boundaries, setting boundaries? And we'll be looking boundaries on both ways, setting boundaries for this new partner as well as boundaries around our children.
Yes, so understanding your yourself, that's the awareness, your children and your partner, and setting boundaries. It needs to be healthy boundaries and mutual, because
Yeah.
when you start imposing that this must be done this way, that's not compromise. You okay, so it's two-way. You in the middle, you have that conversations with your partner, put boundaries there. That's you and your partner. Have that conversation with your children, put the boundaries between you and your children, and also
Mhm.
set boundaries between your children and the new partner. So you have three different ways that you will need to put boundaries. And the boundaries doesn't have to be the same all the time, because
Mm.
you can review them, monitor them, and see how it's going. For instance, if you are in a relationship and you are not too sure how okay, let me talk about a man. If you're in a relationship and you are not so sure how your male partner can handle your children, because he is not the father of the children, is for you
Mhm.
to say, okay, you will not leave your children with this new
Mhm.
partner on their own. You will always have to be there. It's safeguarding point from a safeguarding point of view, which is okay. But then if you notice that the children and the partner are getting them understanding and trust building in that relationship, you can start stepping that back. So that is a boundary that you've put and you've monitored, and you see that it's going on well. Then you start reviewing that. But boundaries, you need to be put healthy boundaries. I always insist on healthy boundaries, because sometimes the boundaries that people put in place is like you need to go to Jericho and come back before those boundaries can be executed. So it's not to make something very, very complicated. Is for you to put boundaries. And one thing with the boundaries is you need to be consistent with the
Mhm.
boundaries that you put in place. Because if
Yeah.
today you put a boundary, tomorrow you change it, the next you go back to the previous boundary, you yourself you get confused, the children get confused, the partner gets confused, and at the end no one knows what boundaries you've put in place. So then all of you will go back to whatever you were doing previously, and it's not helpful to anyone.
Absolutely. Yes. So what I see here in terms of boundaries, which is absolutely what you said was absolutely right. Three ways. Um, so you're setting boundary with a partner. And one thing, Nelly, I just want to say is that before, again, I will always go back to that mindset which you talk about. When we get into relationship, we want to go into relationship from a stronger standpoint, not from a vulnerable standpoint. Because when we go into relationship on the vulnerable standpoint, then that's where we're making ourselves vulnerable and susceptible to abuse, or whichever way you want to put it. And setting boundaries here is very important, because if we go into that relationship from the vulnerable standpoint, Nelly, the boundaries that we set on, those boundaries were not going to be respected. I tell you, because there are some men or some women that are going to keep pushing that boundary because of the way you presented yourself from the early beginning. So this is why it's very important that you as an individual, whether a mom or dad, you need to take some time to work on yourself, build your self-esteem, build your self-confidence. Like I said, be ready to give what you're expecting from people. Are you expecting love? Ask yourself, am I ready to love? Can you also give love? Because you cannot give what you don't have. You can't give what you don't have. And don't expect to receive what you cannot give. Can you give love? If you're looking for them to help you financially, can you also help them financially? If you're looking for them to respect you, pamper you, love them, can you also do that to them? Because by you preparing yourself early enough for these things, you go in there as a confident person. So that when you're setting your boundaries, that person knows that, hey, I'm not going to joke with that boundary, because that woman or that man knows exactly what they are saying. Right. So it's very important to first of all go there as a confident you, as a heal you, somebody that you're healed, you're not broken. You're not going into that relationship as a broken person. You're going there, you're healed, wholly healed. Okay. So that is one thing that I wanted to say. Another thing is about setting boundary. You're setting boundary with your children in terms of how do they perceive that person? How can they respect that person? Because remember, whoever is coming into a relationship want to know that they're being respected and accepted and loved. So sometimes our children, especially if we haven't had a conversation with our children may perceive them negatively, and their attitude may be oozing out in a negative way, which may affect that person, or it may chase away that person in one way or another. So again, it's about setting respectable boundaries, and then boundaries. And another thing, just let me just say one thing again: boundaries on when do they come to your house, because that person may be coming to your house, or maybe they have started seeing your children or coming to your house, but that doesn't mean every time they have to show up. Like any day, anytime they have to show up. No, you don't have, even though I've given you access to my house, it doesn't mean that anytime you have to show up until when things are formalized, like properly formalized before. But at the dating stage and things are going progressively slowly into the actual formal stage, respect the boundaries. If I say it is not all right to come to my house that time, respect it. So that's one thing that we need to be aware. Another important thing that, which for me is very, very massive, is personal space. You as an individual, or I as an individual, I love my personal space. So it's about creating boundaries for you and that person, creating boundaries for your children, and also creating boundary for yourself. Your boundary for yourself is that personal space where, you know what, I just want me, myself, to hang out with myself. I just want to spend time with myself, because that is where you get your cup full. That is when you go back into yourself and reflect. Because sometimes we get lost into love and parenting, and then we forget our own self, about building on our own self. That moment where we can reflect, like, this thing that I'm doing, is it right? Is it helping my children? Or how? Because we need that space to reflect. Otherwise, we're just going to be pulled into both direction, and we end up in the middle confused, and that can drain us. So that's just something I just wanted to add on that boundary, Nelly, before we move to the last point.
Yeah, yeah. Just let me add something on that boundaries. So we are talking about boundaries because we know the importance of boundaries, but majority of people, I would say, do not know what boundaries are. And because
Mm,
people present to be very needy,
yeah.
they want the other person just to accept them. So they will do anything. So then they don't even put a boundary. They don't know what a boundary is. So then they get into the relationship and it's just the same kind of thing. Because if two needy people get in a relationship, one just wants to control the other. And if you look at it like now, that is how a lot of people have been raised. They are very needy, and when they get in, and then they use control as a form of, that's how I love you, and things like that. But then
Yeah.
the other person who is very needy as well will just be there desperate. I will prefer, some will say they will prefer to have someone by their side, even if they are very controlling, than to have no one. So then, where is the boundary? They don't have the boundary. So I feel me and you are talking about boundaries. We know what boundaries are, we know what healthy boundaries are, and the importance it has on us and our children. But majority of people out there, they don't even know what it is, but they just go with their feelings, their emotions, and they don't even know how to navigate that. So here I say, if you are struggling, there is lots and lots of support out there. It doesn't mean that you need to present to be needy, because you are much better than who you think you are. And it's
Mhm.
good to ask for help when you are struggling, because when you present to be needy, you are not coming from a strength place. You are coming from a
Mhm.
very vulnerable place. And when you are vulnerable, that's the time that people will easily take advantage of you. And imagine you present to be vulnerable. What about your children? At their age, they are already vulnerable. So a family of vulnerable people, and the needy person out there just comes to take advantage of you. So that's why I'm saying ask for
Absolutely.
help, so you don't keep on being
Yeah.
vulnerable, because you can do better than that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's so true. That is so true. And again, another thing is that boundary, if you are setting boundaries at that initial stage and that person keeps breaking that boundary, that is a massive red flag. That is the red flag to say, you know what, you need to pull your legs back. Because if they cannot respect your boundaries at that initial stage, then what is the proof that they're going to respect you as a person and actually treat you right? And what is the proof that they're going to even treat your children well and take care of your children? So that is a massive red flag if they keep breaking your boundaries. So we're going to move nicely to the last but not the least point, which is like we need to move slowly. Move slowly when introducing your new partner to your children. And I think we've touched on that. It's not like we see somebody today, we having a chat with them, they are creating butterflies feeling in us, and we are happy and we're falling in love, maybe infatuation. Infatuation, we're just like, and then the next thing we know it, we're introducing them to our children. No, we need to learn to be patient and move slowly, if not for our sake, for the sake of our children, for the health and well-being of our children. Because if we rush it, then we might as well be setting ticking time bomb for our kids, and they're going to turn around tomorrow and blame us if something went wrong. So yeah, I don't know, Nelly, do you want to touch on that, moving slowly? I know we've talked about it, but just if you want to add a few pointers on there.
Yeah, moving slowly is very important because now in our society, people want quick fixes.
Mm,
And because people want instant gratification, they want quick, 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 quick. And then in the long run, it will be very damaging. Whereas
yeah,
if you go through healing, because healing is a very slow journey, it's not
yeah,
fast. So you need to go slowly, intentional. And when you go slowly, you identify the areas that you contributed in your previous relationship and what you will not accept in the next relationship. And if there
mhm,
is a compromise that you will want to, they say flexibility, because we are not robots, we are not just static. You have
mhm,
some flexibility. What can you accept? What can you not accept? So you have them. So it is very, very important to be slow. It's what you need immediately. So what
yeah,
can you do instead? So for me, I say question yourself, question everything. Why is it that you feel that you need a man or a woman now, 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 after a relationship that it's coming from a place of
I think you went, yeah, you went off there a little bit. Yeah. Can you hear me, Can you hear us, Nelly? Okay. Yeah, so that is so true what Nelly was saying, that we need to make sure that we go with the right intention, go in with the right intention, and we need to be slow. We don't have to rush into it. Remember, we've just come out of a broken relationship, and I'm sure our heart must have been bruised. You know, you don't want to go into another bruised relationship just because you rush into it. So it's better to take your time, heal,
yeah,
and they always say, it is not how fast you go, but how far. Sometimes it's better to be patient, work on yourself, and
yeah. I
make
can
sure
hear
the
you. I
time.
think we've managed. The internet is really good.
Yeah, yeah. So just to summarize, oh, Nelly has gone again. So yes, so I think we've kind of covered a lot of those points that we had. Just to recap, remember that we are all talking about how to manage your relationship. Yes, it's good to love, it's good to find love again, but also remember that you are a parent and your children are counting and rely on you. So, how can you manage the two healthily without them squashing you in the middle? And by the way, you've got the love, you've got your children, and you've also got yourself, that you need to take care of yourself. So it's very, very important that you make sure that you find a beautiful balance. So we need to know that healthy love starts with healthy balance. Okay, it has to start with healthy balance. We've talked about do not rush, you need to build it with intention. What are your intention of getting to that relationship? Make sure you have the good intention and that you're ready from the bottom of your heart. You're really ready to go into that relationship, before you go into it. Because remember, you're not going there alone. Your children are coming with you into that relationship. The second thing we've talked about, you need to communicate clearly with your partner and your children. You need to tell them who you are, your parenting role, your parenting responsibility, so that if they're happy with it, they will accept you and take you for who you are. As well as, on the other hand, you need to communicate with your children about your intention to get into a new relationship so that you can gauge how your children are feeling. Because remember, you don't want your children having this man or having this woman or having this person coming around when they are not happy. You need to prepare them, let them be psychologically, emotionally prepared to receive this person. And we talked about try to build, a clear boundary around everybody, and set boundaries for your children, set boundaries with the new partner, as well as set boundaries for yourself. And remember, you deserve love and support just as your kids do. Okay. So remember that at the end of the day, it's about you. What do you want? What is it best for your children? Because remember, anything that hurts your children hurts you. It come back to hurt you. So please make sure that you protect yourself. Find love. Love is good thing. Love is beautiful. It's a sweet thing to have love. Yeah, beautiful to have love. But make sure that you balance the love with your parenting beautifully, and that person is also there to support you in that parenting journey, because you want somebody who is there to support you, right? Isn't it? That is the whole purpose of it. Somebody that is there to support you as well in that parenting journey. So thank you so much for listening. Unfortunately, Nelly, I think Nelly's internet is really playing badly today. So, but thank you for joining in. Thank you for tuning in. Anybody that joined us, I hope you learned something today. And if you watch later, put your comment in the comment section. And if there's any topic that you want us to talk about, we will talk about it. Remember, we're just speaking from the heart and we're just being vulnerable and raw and just having a conversation, making sure that you have a beautiful parenting journey as well as a loving journey or finding love again. Thank you so much. And we will see you again in 2 weeks' time. You take care. Love you. Bye bye. And look after yourself. Take care of yourself. Love you. Bye bye.